Hi guys, welcome to this YouTube channel. This is where we inspire, educate, enlighten, and motivate each other to be better versions of ourselves. If this is the first time that you're clicking on this channel, kindly consider subscribing. The subscribe button is right below. Once you hit the subscribe button, then it turns gray and tells you subscribed. It is absolutely free, and that is the biggest support that you can offer me. Thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed. Thank you for your continued support. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. As you can see from the title of the video, I want us to talk about perception. My story begins at Kenyatta Road along the superhighway, Thika Superhighway. Those of us who are conversant with the Thika Superhighway, then you understand exactly where this story begins. I am driving towards Ruiru and I am at Kenyatta Road, all right? And it is about maybe 4:30 or 5 in the evening, all right? From where I am, there is a buildup of traffic. Traffic is slowly but surely building up. On the service lane and also on the main highway, traffic is building up. Now, the difference between the highway and the service lane where I am is that the service lane has now stopped moving. We are not moving at all. It has stalled completely. Now, I think for one major reason. Right ahead is where we have the underpass, the Kenyatta Road underpass. Now, this underpass is used by different motorists in different ways. There is a motorist coming from Gatondo who uses the underpass to join the service lane going back to Nairobi. There is a motorist coming from Kenyatta Road who wants to go to Juja or Gatondo. There is a motorist coming from Juja, where I was coming from, who uses the underpass to make a U-turn and go back to Juja. It serves different purposes, all right? And I think, especially when there is no traffic cop in the area, then it becomes chaotic. And so we are at this place, and now the traffic on the service lane is not moving at all, all right? At least for the highway, there is, yes, traffic, but the difference between ourselves who are on the service lane and them that are on the highway is that at least for them, they are moving, all right? They are moving slowly. As we have switched off our vehicles, we are not moving. At that point, then I receive a call from a former lecturer of mine, Dr. Mayoka at JKUAT. He tells me, I need you to come and pick me up at a particular point in JKUAT. Is it possible? And I tell him, yeah, it's possible. I am at Kenyatta Road. However, the drive that would take me 10-15 minutes to get to where you are will maybe take me 30, 40, 50 minutes. Are you willing to wait for that long? And Dr. Mayoka tells me, no problem, I am not in a hurry. You can take your time, but please come and pick me up. And so I continue waiting in traffic. We move a meter, 2 meters, we stall, but at least we are moving, all right? So eventually I end up at the underpass. I make my U-turn and head back to Juja. I pick Dr. Mayoka, and then we start driving back about 800 meters or so from the bridge. Then you can join the highway. There is an entry to the highway. So that entry, I am trying as much as possible to join the highway. However, something surprising and a key factor in this story is that every motorist is now using this entry to the highway as an exit. Why? Because they can look ahead and see huge traffic on the highway. But when they look at the service lane, there is no much traffic. So, as a Kenyan driver, every driver is trying to escape to use the service lane, because to them, the service lane is clean and the highway has traffic. So everyone is using this entry as an exit. So we are going against the current, and everyone is looking at us as, you must be some learners. You must be stupid. You must be foolish. Why would you be joining the highway, yet you can see traffic ahead, and yet all of us are actually escaping this traffic so that we can join the service lane where you guys are already at to beat the traffic. But I tell Dr. Mayoka, I am making a decision, a conscious decision to join the highway because I have been at Kenyatta Road just a few moments ago, and I know how crazy the service lane is. These guys don't have the luxury of making such a decision. They are maybe coming from Nyeri, Murang'a, or wherever it is, yeah? They have not been at Kenyatta Road. They don't know what lies ahead. At least for me, I have been at that particular point and I'm making a conscious decision, all right? So we go against the current and finally we end up in the highway. Then we drive and everyone else is escaping to join the service lane. And then we go and meet at this particular point where I was at, maybe 30 or so minutes ago, all right, at Shell petrol station. I can look at them at the service lane and they are frustrated. The frustration is written all over their faces. Why? Because now the tables have turned. They have gotten to Shell where I was and they have stalled. They are not moving at all. On the highway, there is traffic, yes. But the difference is that we are still moving. At least we are still moving, all right? And so I can look at their faces again, and this time it is different. They are looking at me with those eyes that tell you, wow, how did you know this is the situation that we would find ourselves in? How would you know that Kenyatta Road traffic was stalled? That is why when we were at the exit, at the entry to the highway, you were struggling to get to the highway. Yet all of us were struggling to leave the highway to the service lane because we thought that there is no traffic ahead. Where am I going with this story? These drivers are not necessarily foolish or bad drivers, all right? However, there is a big difference between myself and these drivers. I made a decision based on experience. I had been at that place, and so I made a decision based on that. They didn't know what lied ahead. They just saw traffic on the highway, and so they thought, let us exit the highway, join the service lane, because we can't see any traffic on the service lane. Perception. How do you perceive things? Perception is how do you understand things, all right? It is simply how you understand different situations and things that happen in life. That is the simple definition of perception. I looked at this situation, I made a conscious decision, I perceived it differently, I understood this differently, and so I wouldn't put myself in the same situation by allowing myself to drive on the service lane. Why? Because I knew exactly what lied ahead. This is what I'm talking about. Let me quickly link this story up with a story we all know in the Bible. The story of Elijah. This guy prays that there would be no rain. And then this actually happens. There is no rain in this region for about 3 years. And then right now, he is now praying that God would give them rain again. All right? And before this story begins, in 2 Kings, I believe, it is the story of the prophets of Baal and Elijah praying to their God to burn down their offerings. And then I think at around verse 42, 40, around from verse 40, this is where this story begins. Elijah is on Mount Carmel and prays to God that he sends rain to this place. These guys have not seen rain for 3 years. Elijah sends his servant 7 good times to go and look at the horizon and tell him whether there is any sign of rain that is coming. The servant 6 times comes back and tells Elijah, there is absolutely nothing. I cannot see any sign of rain. But what happens on the 7th time? This guy goes and then he comes back and tells Elijah, from the horizon, a very, very far distance, I have seen the cloud a size of a man's fist. What does Elijah do? He says that tell the king, King Ahab, that he should come down the mountain, hitch his chariot, because it is about to rain. And not just rain, it is about to pour. What did he see? The small cloud the size of a man's fist. To the servant, that was absolutely nothing. There was nothing to warrant a downpour. But what happens to Elijah? He sees or he hears the servant tell him that he hears what the servant tells him. And that small cloud is enough reason for Elijah to perceive that there is huge downpour coming. And yes, there was a huge downpour that came immediately after that. Now, let us come back to ourselves. At the place you are at right now, what do you perceive about your life? About the situations that surround you, about the situation that you find yourself in? Do you perceive things differently? Is there that small cloud in the horizon, the size of a man's fist, that you can look and understand that God is about to do a huge thing in your life? As human beings, especially right now, we are faced with so much tribulations. We find ourselves in so much tight positions. Do you see hope at the end of the tunnel? Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel? Do you perceive and understand things differently? The seasons in your life. Can you look at the seasons in your life and understand that yes, I may be going through drought. I may not have seen rain in 3 years, but at least I have seen the small cloud the size of a man's fist. Will you see that cloud and perceive heavy downpour coming to you? Do you see yourself rising above this situation? Do you see yourself conquering these giants and slaying them? Do you see yourself knocking down Goliath? Do you understand these situations that you are in? Do you understand the season that you are in? Do you look at yourself and see hopelessness? Do you look at yourself and see helplessness? Do you look at yourself and tell yourself that I am down, that I cannot make it, that I am beaten? Or will you look at yourself and say, yes, I am down, but I will rise. I will rise and fight again. I'm challenging you and myself today. Can we change the way we look at things? Can we change our perspective? Can we look at things differently and look for the small sign, the size of a man's fist, and know that surely a new day is dawning? Will you rise up and say, yes, I am capable. Yes, I am able. Yes, God has said so, that I am more than a conqueror. Can we perceive things differently? Can we understand things differently? Can we understand our seasons differently? In fact, it is said that most of us have eyes, yes, but these eyes only look. Don't just look. I want you to have eyes that don't just look, but eyes that see. Seeing is not just the function of eyes. For you to see, you have to do better. It is time to challenge yourself that from today I will not just look at situations at face value, but I will look and see situations differently. I will look and see and perceive things differently. That, my friend, is how we will change. From thinking negatively about ourselves, about our situations, to thinking positively and energetically and rising above the situations and doing and becoming more than a conquerors, slaying those giants. It is just a matter of perception, just a matter of changing our understanding of situations. I leave you with this question today. What do you perceive? Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I hope this has touched you. I hope it has blessed you. I hope it has taught you something. I wish to learn from you too. Please write in the comment section down below. Let us assist each other. Let us sharpen each other, because the word of God tells us that if iron can sharpen iron, then we can also sharpen each other. Till next time, thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you in the next one. God bless.